Thank you very much for coming, and thank you to those who are watching the recording. This is our Saugeen Shores land development in southwestern Ontario, which is located just a few hours west of Toronto. This presentation is brought to you by myself. I'm Guy Bouchard, president of Top Down Investments and one of the general partners of the Saugeen Shores development. Is also brought to you by Janet Gracie and Liz Hale Boys, both in attendance tonight, both partners in this as well. And we're excited to have brought this to fruition last year and very excited to where we are today, which is a lot of progress and a lot of support for this project. And we're looking for more capital partners to finish off the remaining capital requirements to see this thing come to fruition. So no surprise, we're here looking for some capital. So hopefully you came to look at an exciting deal. I will let you know this is for accredited investors only and is available for cash and registered funds. And if there are those of you that are not accredited, worry not. I do have a deal that I'll spend a little bit of time on at the end, which is available to non-accredited investors. So just to make sure we had a little something for everybody. But without further ado, we will just get going on this. So basic legal disclaimer, I'm not a professional anything. You're not allowed to believe anything that I say because it's all just my opinion, and I'm not going to take responsibility for you going and trying to do all this magnificent stuff on your own. I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer. This is all just information that we have gathered based on our experience and based on our projections. We're going to give you the best assessment of our deal. But that is it. Real estate can and is a risky investment in a lot of circumstances, but it can also be a great investment vehicle if you do things correctly. So past performance, not an indicator of future performance. And I got someone else jumping in here. I'm just going to quietly do that, but not quietly. So there we go. There's our legal disclaimer. So the agenda for, I've lost my clicking ability. There we go. So the agenda is just to do some introductions. It is to talk about, of course, the project itself and what does that mean? What does the deal entail? What our plan is for it? Talk about the financial projections and the numbers we've assembled at the beginning for the projections, and also a little bit of an update as to where we are today on that. Of course, how to get involved, and if anybody has any questions, we would be more than willing to supply some answers. And here we go. So our team. This is our team. How did we get assembled together? How did our pictures wind up on that slide together? We ask ourselves that very question, but very happy with the team we put together. And myself, president, I mentioned, of Top Down Investments. We are a land developer based on Vancouver Island with a focus on unlocking value in land developments with a focus on purpose-built rentals. Not to say that's our only focus, but that is definitely our objective. The background for me was renovating apartment buildings. Our organization together renovated apartment buildings over the last 5 to 8 years. The tides have changed. There's a housing crisis. You can't really get the lift on the existing assets because it requires people to be relocated. And that just doesn't work in today's market because there's not enough housing. So we want to create more housing. So that's exactly what we're doing, is buying the land so that we can create more housing and add to the solution, not make a bigger problem. Janet Gracie, she is just up and coming in this world of development. She is the reason we are here today. She brought the development to me back in July to ask for some guidance and to figure out how the heck do we get some value out of this land, and how the heck do we bring housing to the communities that need it, which was a perfect segue into what we were doing in business. And so together we worked on the due diligence of this project, found that there was a lot of support, and this project is in the path of development. And we decided to partner and move forward with that. Liz Hale Boys, has graciously come along after we kind of brought this to fruition in the fall. She was very excited about the project. She is very focused on networking and capital raising, doing real estate investing out of Alberta. and she wanted to be involved in this project in a more meaningful way. And we were more than happy to have her. She's been a great addition to the team, and together we've got Janet, who's based in Ontario, living in the house on the property. So she is literally boots on the ground. We've got Liz assisting on the general partnership side of it and the capital raising component to bring the right partners to the deal. And then myself kind of at the helm on Vancouver Island, just sort of overseeing and managing the development to make sure that it is in line with the objectives and it is a feasible project and can be brought to fruition in the way that we see necessary. So there is the team. More people working in the background for sure. I am definitely not on my own. I've got staff and personnel that help me with all of the day-to-day operations. So always want to give a shout out to my supporting team because they're the reason that I'm able to do this stuff. So, oh, I clicked off the screen again. Let's try this again. There we go. This is one of our favorite sayings. It's a tried and tested saying. Buy land, they're not making it anymore. And I can tell you in the last 5 years, that has become more real than anything. With this housing crisis, people are very, very up to date on the need for housing, and land is going like crazy, and it's definitely not going down in price. So we love this saying. And guess what we did? We actually bought some land. We listened to Mark Twain. We just bought it because they're not making anymore. There's a picture of the project. That outline in blue is the 2-acre site that we have. You can see right on the northern tip of that, there is a house that exists there. And the rest of the property is in what's called a planned development zone. And that was what really piqued my interest at the beginning, because you always want to take a look at what the city has planned and what the area has planned for the potential development. And I'll get into it a little bit later, but the beauty about this project is that the zoning plan development really is up to you to create the highest and best use for the property. So it really created some flexibility with what we want to do with this project. And yeah, we liked it. We closed on it. Now we love it. And we want to get this thing through to the next stage. So where in the world is Saugeen Shores? Here's your Google Maps of where that is. I wasn't familiar with it before Janet brought this property to my attention, but you can see there's obviously Toronto, that's southwestern Ontario, and you can see just on the edge of that map, you see the red outlined portion right on the edge of Lake Huron, which is right there, that red dot. That's why they put that red dot in my slide, so I didn't have to pretend to point to the screen. But it's about a 2.5 hour drive from Toronto. And sorry, I'm just letting somebody else in there. And yeah, it's one of the most sought after areas. I didn't realize how sought after the area was, and we've got some exciting details to talk about the area, but it's got all the metrics that point towards a great place to invest. And so why Saugeen Shores? So proximity to Lake Huron is obviously the biggest one. This is considered a beachfront community, and Janet would be able to speak to this more than I would, but I'm doing the speaking on behalf of her. But the excitement that she brings to the table when talking about this community is, it's got a good proximity to Toronto, and it is sort of a retiree, traditionally a retiree tourist resort area. And that's where a lot of people just started going. And when COVID hit, these are the areas that people wanted to, they were close enough to the downtown cores that they could still do business, but they were far enough away that they felt that they were getting their quality of life right on the lake, beachfront. Like I said, our property is only, I think it's within a kilometer. Janet, correct me if I'm wrong there, but it's very, very close, like a 15 to 20 minute walk right to the beaches there. These are the stats that really drive the market. So one of the fastest growing areas in Canada, that's saying a lot. When we have the people moving to all different areas of the country over the last few years, the growth rate for 16% from 2016 to 21 for such a small community is massive. And you combine that with a housing vacancy rate below 0.5. Everybody's used to hearing low vacancy rates, but when you put those numbers together with the reality of the situation that housing is just not being developed fast enough, the bottom line is there's demand. There's massive, massive demand. On top of that, it's got one of the strongest household incomes available as well. Liz, you've got your hand up. Do I
Hey, Guy, I think we need to mute Luke. It's creating some sound interference. Or Luke,
Oh,
if you
Luke.
could mute yourself, that's great. Thanks. Thanks, Luke.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. So yes, so combine those stats with the strongest household income. That's a rare thing to see. All of these metrics come into play like that. And so you've got one of the fastest growth rates with one of the strongest incomes with the least amounting housing available. That tells us one thing: pretty much any project is going to be successful, and it's up to us to bring those to fruition. So all of the data is behind this project, and we're excited to say that that's only getting better for us on the development side. Obviously, it's worse for the housing crisis, but man, we just can't build them fast enough. So we want to bring this to fruition. What this speaks highly to as well is major community support. So we've got nothing but positive support from the county, from the town, and from the community in which Janet has been heavily engaged in over the past year for sure since we started talking about this project, but lots there. Place to relax with the cottage. You've got the fishing trails, effortlessly cutting edge business, all of that stuff. So those are all things that we want to see, and they're driving the bus on this development. Project highlights: 2-acre site. It is level and it is flat. That's music to a developer's ears. We want as least amount of constraints as possible. The land is in the path of development. That is very true, given the fact that we know that there is developments that have either happened, completed, or in the queue right in the surrounding area and even on the block. What was also realized was that the services to development is a big question, of course, when you look at developments. The services for the town are actually brought right to the block, the front of the block that this is on. So it really only has to come one country block in order to service the entire block for the development, and we are right there. So this is the next block to be developed, which is also just another big bonus for this. Nearby parcels also being developed, including the neighbor. Was and is an opportunity even for us to acquire the neighboring property. That's a topic for future discussion, but it's just showing how real the opportunity is. But there are other parcels that are actively being applied for development, and that's only going to help in our servicing requirements as well. Current vision for the site right now is a purpose-built rental townhome community, just estimated 50 plus townhouses. We're going to be serving families, empty nesters, downsizing, everything, every population, people, the workforce housing, seniors, people that are looking for rent, people that are, moving to the area, looking to rent. The list is endless. Anybody can be renting and looking for renting nowadays. It's not a very specific market. It's everybody. And then the neighborhood property, yep, that's available, incorporated, maybe incorporated. So that's just another plug on it, which could be a very, very valuable add to the partnership group if we decide to move forward. And then, as mentioned before, plan development. So just want to touch on that a little bit. An OCP is an official community plan. Every area has an official community plan. Every municipality has one. So that is the Bible for a developer. As soon as you are looking at a property, the very first thing that we do is we look at the official community plan, because that's what the city has created in order to tell you what the future use is that they would like to see. So of course, when you're applying for something, you want to make sure that what you're applying for aligns with their official community plan, so that there is coherence with the future plan of the staff and the city with all the reports. So when Janet brought this to me, I said, "What is the zoning?" And she said, "Well, it's PD." And I said, "Okay." She said, "Plan development." I said, "Well, what is that? Like, what does it mean? What is the density? What is the FSR? The like floor area ratio, like all the things that we use to determine how much we can build." She said, "Well, there isn't any." I said, "Well, what do you mean there isn't any?" And she said, "Well, it's just open. Like you can literally do whatever you want." I said, "I want more information on this." So it literally is anything you want. Like you can go as high density as you're allowed to or as they want. And so of course my brain went to, apartment buildings, but of course that's just not what this land is intended for. This is a little bit too far out of the town to be talking about apartment buildings, but the next best thing was townhomes. So we talked to the city and we asked them if they would support a townhouse development, and they were all for it. They had 100% yes. Just look at your servicing, and of course that's what we've been working on. So the 50 plus townhomes is actually underutilizing the plan development density. The existing density on our size of land can actually support closer to 80 units, I believe. That came down from 90, but it's 80 plus units. We'll show, you'll see the site plan in a minute here. Of course, you could do that, but it gets a little crammed and there's a whole bunch of what ifs. You kind of want to do what's right for the property. Point being is there's no resistance to what we're trying to do, which is very, very good news for what we're trying to do. And when you talk about taking this land from where it's at to a 50 townhome development, there's a lot of upside. And we're very excited to be providing it as long as it aligns with the community needs, and this definitely does. So project progress is such that it has been purchased. So we have already closed on it. There's your initial site concept developed. It's that is the plan that has 50 plus townhomes on it. That's a combination of 12 regular side-by-side townhomes, full size, 3 to 4 bedroom townhomes. And then the ones in the middle cluster there are stacked townhomes. So there's 40 of those. So this plan is 52 townhomes as it stands with full size and stacked townhomes combined. This may change. This is just what we have in concept right now. This has not actually been applied for, but this has definitely been the topic of conversation, and the city has seen that, and we have substantial engagement with them. So we've met with them multiple times. There is the town and the county in this case, but we've been talking to both of them at length. And like I said, a lot of support from them. There's been no resistance, no downside. It's all just been about bringing the services in and getting this thing across the line. They need the housing. They're in support. We have a community engagement planned in a month from now. So I'm actually going to be flying out, and Janet and I will be doing a presentation in person to the community to gauge their support and to find out what the actual needs are of the community to make sure that what we're designing is something that they are going to get on side with. Site servicing, like I said, the needs are being assessed. We have been assessing those from the get-go. The good news is that we have quantified the site servicing needs, and they are coming in well below what we originally anticipated. So that helps us not only on our future projections for the actual development of the site, but most importantly, it adds significant value to the post-site plan approval that we're scheduled to get completed here in the next 12 to 18 months. The budget and schedule have been fully established, and we are on track with exactly what we anticipated. So barring any drastic changes, which we don't see because we've gone through most of the process already, we think we're going to be well on budget and well on schedule to get this whole thing completed. So that's been nailed down. We have a detailed cash flow. Everything's been nailed down. Normally, we don't have a lot of this stuff truly nailed down because we're pitching a deal before we close on it. But because we've closed on it, we've been able to actually quantify actual costs and get a much clearer idea and picture to the finish line. So, project timeline. This is it. August 2022 was when it was July, August that Janet and I were starting the due diligence. We removed subjects in September, and we closed officially on the project in December of 2022. And so the plan is to submit the application for rezoning by August 2023. So that's coming up. The reason that we are planning that application date is because there's one environmental report that cannot be done until the springtime, later spring. So sometime in June, July, which is when we are going to expect to receive that report, which should be the final piece of the puzzle for us to be submitting that rezone. Once the rezone is approved, then we would be preparing and also be prepared for ultimately the site plan approval, which will be the next step to get it, which I call the development permit approval. In Ontario, they call it the site plan approval. But with those approvals, we can then nail down the actual cost of the servicing, get the agreements in place with any other developers, if any, on the site, and also enter into a servicing agreement with the town, so that once that's in place, we or somebody that we sell to could choose to move forward with the development. We'll talk about that a little bit in a couple of slides here about the exit strategies. Anticipated completion of this phase of the project is sometime in 2024. So we're calling it the end of 2024, which would give us enough time to get all of our approvals in place and then have a time period of about 6 months to look at the exit strategies. Right now, the exit is to just sell it off. but there's a very, very real possibility that we could continue with the development. But just keep in mind that if investors at this phase do not want to continue, they will not be obligated to. Everyone will have the option to move forward with the development. So please don't get confused. This is not about developing, servicing, or developing the land. It is just about getting the approvals to do so. The next investment, should you decide and should we decide to proceed with that, will be presented at that time. So the simplified pro forma is our land acquisition costs were $850,000. Closing and carrying costs of the deal is estimated at $210,000. And then our actual project costs, which come down to basically the fees and consulting costs associated with getting it down the line and all of the due diligence that is required for the application, totals $1.4 million, just over that. Financing we obtained is $620,000, thanks to our silent partner in the background. No names mentioned, but a lot of people know who she is, and she did a fantastic job of acquiring some great financing. So we've got low holding costs with a high loan to value, which had awesome impacts, positive impacts on our bottom line. Capital required because of that is $800,000. And we have a projected value after site plan approval of approximately $2 million, with an anticipated net profit of just over $500,000. So for a 24-month project, what does that mean? 800,000 invested, split 50-50 with the investors, is a 32% projected, 32.5% projected overall return. If it takes the full 24 months to realize that, that would equate to a 16.25% annual return for the investors. And I will say that because of our new servicing costs that we have realized, our initial value was based on the worst case scenario of our servicing costs for this project to be upwards of $1.8 million. That's what we were told at the beginning based on preliminary information. We have since got it well under $1 million. And I'm not even going to tell you what we actually think it's going to be, because that would just be too optimistic. But realistically, we are going to be well under $1 million of projected servicing costs. That much I can tell you. And all that does is increase the value of the land and, of course, gives more potential upside to this development. So there's not too much else to talk about as far as this deal goes. I can pitch Saugeen Shores more. I can tell you how much of a beautiful place it is. I can talk to you about how good this investment is and how good we feel it is. But really, this is the nuts and bolts of the deal. The next thing would be just to get into the nitty-gritty on the cash flow analysis and get some more detailed review and more due diligence, but that's not what this slide is about. This is just to gauge interest in the people that are looking to invest. So if you want to get involved, the investment structure is set up as an operating corporation, which means that it's not your typical JV and it's not your typical LPGP. This is actually investing into a corporation. And we did that strategically to allow RSP capital to be invested. So that's why you're able to invest RSP capital directly into this deal, which you otherwise would not be able to. So you're actually purchasing Class A shares of the investment. Class B shares are owned by the operators for the other 50% of the deal. As mentioned, it's RSP eligible through self-directed funds through Olympia Trust. If you don't already have a self-directed, we can help you get that set up. That's not an issue. For those of you who already have it set up, you're going to be familiar with how that works. Shareholders are a part of the corporation, and we own and operate the project. That's a given. That's us. And like I said, the total capital raise is $800,000. So the investment options are non-registered capital. You can invest cash all you want. There's a minimum of 40K, but there is no maximum other than, of course, the 800K. We are already half subscribed. So really there is only $400,000 available. So someone could write a check for $400,000 with cash. RSP, on the other hand, is limited. So you cannot own, because of the security rules, or the RSP eligibility rules, I should say. No RSP investor can own more than 10% of the overall investment. So 10% of 800 grand is $80,000. So if you're investing RSPs, you cannot own more than $80,000 of the investment. If you want to invest more cash, like I said, be happy to do that. The debt option, this is something that is just, it's always available, but an appropriately structured project financing arrangement could potentially be an option that we would entertain depending on what that debt option could look like. Short-term promissory notes, we have a couple in place right now that are just bridging us to our full capitalization. So after that is done, we're likely not going to need any additional financing with this deal unless we decided to carry on construction, but that'll be sometime next year. So mainly we're looking for cash or RSP investors from accredited investors. Accredited investor criteria. What does that mean? That means that you make $200,000 in personal annual income, or you make $300,000 with your spouse. You have $1 million of net liquid assets. So these are cash or securities. The equity does not count in that criteria. Or you have $5 million in total net worth. So it's one of these things, not all of them, just to be clear. So if you qualify for any one of these, then you are an accredited investor in the eyes of BC or the federal securities. And if you're and if you're not accredited, like I said, I've got a deal that I want to talk to you about because it's usually very difficult for non-accredited investors to get involved in deals specifically. So we've got an avenue for that. But if you are able to invest in this as a accredited investor, or you know somebody and you want to make a referral, we would love for you to pass their information along or send them the information for the deal. It's going to be a great deal for anybody that does get involved. So, summary of this deal: ideal location, rental townhome community is exactly what we are aimed for. It's exactly what the community needs. I can say that there's almost no purpose-built rental townhome developments out there. They're extremely rare. Most developers are looking to sell them off. We think that it's a very underserved market for the missing middle, which is why they're going to be in the highest demand out of any of the product on the market. That much, I'm not allowed to guarantee anything, but I'm going to give you my guarantee on that. That purpose-built townhome rentals, we're focusing on multiple projects because they are, based on the data, going to be the most in-demand items. Communities ready for development. Like I said, 0.5 vacancy rate with a lot of income to spare. There's a lot of demand. The land has already been purchased, which is a key piece of this. This is not a projection. This is real. The target is to take this through to the site rezoning and site plan approval to maximize the land value, which gives the investors a very nice short window of investment. Everybody's after return within 1 to 2 years. It's very difficult to find developments that can generate a return and an exit in under 2 years. This definitely has the ability to do that, with also giving you the ability to decide whether you want to roll over into the ultimate development when we have more information. So it's kind of getting your cake and eating it too, as far as a short-term investment and the opportunity to roll over into the development if that's what you want to do. 50 plus townhomes, that's no small development. That's a good amount of units for a 2-acre parcel, and it's exactly what that property can handle. Open to accredited investors, open to non-registered funds. So that is our development. So if you're not accredited, I have a deal for you. This is in Duncan. This is our Price Place land assembly. It is not nearly as long as I just did, so bear with me. I've only got a couple slides here just to give you a little tidbit of information, but this is just to let you know what we're up to on Vancouver Island. So this is right in my backyard. This is in our town. I live in Duncan. Our staff live in Duncan. We're here to stay for a long time. So Price Place Land Assembly is our 2 multi-family development sites. These are houses, again, that we have already purchased, with the exception of one we close on it in July. But we own the rights. We own these properties and/or the rights. 5 key properties in the heart of Duncan. This is another area that is specifically targeted for redevelopment. It is in the path of high density. So we are rezoning to high density for these, and it's currently zoned medium density. It's already been told that the new OCP is going to be adopting high density in this area, so we're already in the path of the high density. The official community plan already supports 6 stories. Major infrastructure upgrades in this area is a new hospital being built right now, $1.5 billion, the new RCMP detachment, $50 million, and a brand new secondary school, all within like a 2-minute drive from each other. So what we're planning, this is a quick rendering. This is an older rendering, so this does not really reflect exactly what it may look like, but of course it doesn't really matter. It gives you an idea of the footprint, what the building will look like, and to give you an indication of what a 6-story rendering can look like on these lots. These sites are about to get an application from us. We're going to be filing our application for rezone for 110 units per site. So there's massive density. Even on the low side of the potential approval, we're talking anywhere from 70 to 90 units on the low end. We're getting a little more aggressive because we feel that there is a need for a different type of housing that we're going to be bringing to the market. But it's an excellent project we feel very good about. Location is very walkable. It's right downtown. All the parks are nearby. The Cowichan River is 2 blocks away. Rec Center's 4 blocks away. Art Center's 5 blocks away. Pretty much everything in Duncan is just blocks away. It's a very, very small community surrounded by bigger communities, which is called the Cowichan Valley in its entirety. Duncan itself is just 5,000 people in its small downtown center, and then it's surrounded by the CVRD and the District of North Cowichan, which make up the bigger population of about 100,000 in the area. The community, just like everywhere else, less than 1% vacancy rate, it's bursting at the seams, not enough housing for anybody. And we've got clear direction from the city to increase density. And in approximately 12 months to the completion of the rezone and the potential development permit application, we've got all of our due diligence ready to go. We're waiting for one more report before we can file our application, but there's a full support. So this is another project that is available to investors through the approval process, and then the investors will actually have the option to continue on with the development, or they can exit out at that time. Very similar to Saugeen Shores in the sense that we are moving through the approval stage to get it to the point of approvals, have the information for the ultimate development, then offer that development to our investors to see who's on board for moving through with the development. Again, Saugeen Shores is available to accredited investors only. Price Place is open to anybody. So anybody who wants to invest into this deal is eligible to invest. They just have to reach out to me and get a little deeper dive into the deal, and so we can go through the investment details, and then you can make your decision from there. So without further ado, I'll open it up to anybody that potentially has any questions. The information to contact us is right there. We've got Invest at Top Down Investments, and then we've got Janet Gracie in there, propertieswithgrace@gmail.com. You can reach out to either of us and you can get some more information as you see fit. But I hope that covered all of the basis. I'm going to probably just stop sharing now. And we've got me live. That's it, right? It's just me on the screen, I think. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Does anybody here have any questions before we wrap up? There's not a great deal left to talk about on the investments unless you guys have something else you wanna run by me. The awkward first question, no questions, did such a good job, no questions, or it's such a bad job that nobody wants to ask anymore. Liz, Janet, do you guys have anything to add? Do you think we covered it all? Anything that you thought of through the process there?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that our marketing website has just been launched, and
yes,
yeah,
good one.
it's just been launched, and the postcards are already being delivered to the neighborhood, and we already have 12 responses. So
that's amazing. What is it? Tell them our website. Give them that details.
That's what I'll do. I'll look that up, and then you can check it out. It's more about Saugeen Shores and what everything looks like. But
do you have it now? I can pull it up because I know it was just sent to us.
I'm always a little nervous when I have to do something like this on command, but I
me
can
just-
find it.
Hold on. It was just sent to us from our marketing department. You're right. We just got our, oh, we got a question. Money to invest in the second project. There is no well, $25,000. There's technically no minimum, but we've been putting the minimum at 25,000 bucks for the price place. I just got that question online. So 25 grand for the price place is the minimum. 40,000 is the minimum for Saugeen Shores. And so it's oursaugeenshores.com.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat.
Yeah, perfect. So very similarly, we also have a website on Vancouver Island called ourvancouverisland.com. So if you're going to start to get a bit of a flavor and a sense for how we as an organization and how we as a partnership and working with Liz and with Janet are approaching our developments, which is really engaging with the community to find out exactly what the needs are. It's one thing for a developer to go into an area and push for their objectives, which are usually all driven by the bottom line. It's another thing completely to gather the proper information from the people that live in the community and collaborate with the city and the public to help shape the design of the very project we bring to application stage. And you'll get a very good sense on our websites, ourvancouverisland.com and oursaugeenshores.com, on exactly how we're approaching and engaging and where we're getting the mindset behind the design and development of what we're trying to do. All of that information too, you guys, just so you're aware, I know that we're new as far as introducing ourselves to you and the potential developments, and it would be new for you to do business with us, but we're laying the foundation to be doing this for a very, very long time. Whether you're interested in getting in this invested at this level or not, that is great information for you to keep an eye on us to see what we're doing, because those types of websites and engagement, none of that is going away. Those will exist as long as we're developing. And we're just going to keep adding our next project and our next project and our next project to those websites to make sure that we are on the leading edge of information for what the communities are looking for. And we're going to continue to bring developments to fruition that we hope are going to be a huge success moving forward. And we've got great feedback so far, but yeah, good point, Janet. That's a great one to mention. Liz, anything from you?
No, you covered everything, just that I like the project. That's why I'm in it. But I know the area. I think it's wonderful, and it's going to be great to see this come along. I just know it's going to be such a good fit. So yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. Awesome. So and yeah, for some reason I can't see. Oh, that's why I don't have my chat clicked on. That's why Daniel has to be telling me about that. Okay, yeah, so I don't see any questions here. Anything else? So unless you guys have something else, I think we've pretty much covered it all. I try to keep it. I thought I was gonna be shorter than normal. We're 48 minutes, but that's me just yammering on about the PowerPoint. So I'll leave you guys with it. If there's no more questions, it's awesome. I really appreciate you guys taking a look and scoping us out. If you're interested in getting involved, we're looking to wrap both of the projects up. We're looking to wrap them up in the next 60 days. So time is of the essence. Let us know if you're interested or not. And you can check out both of our websites, get that under your belt. And if you want to stay in touch with us for future deals, you can sign up on our website, topdowninvestments.com. If you're not already, that's where we that's where we send all the information out for all of our future deals and just updates on our existing. So that's all we got. So I'll end it and wrap it at that. And just thank you once again for coming out. And you guys, everybody have a great evening and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye for now.